Greetings once again, digital world, and welcome back to yet another episode of Spliced In Later. I'm excited to come to you today with a new episode for a movie review for something that until Sunday, maybe Saturday, I didn't even know I would be watching, let alone reviewing. That's always fun. I love when I sign off my episodes like the previous week, and I always say, tune in next week for I don't know what it'll be. If you think that I go away and then over the course of the next few days I really plan out what I'm going to say, that doesn't happen. Often, if I have any sort of ideas, they will change frequently. And normally, when I sit down to start recording, I'm not even 100% sure that I want to talk about the thing I want to talk about, which can really show in the quality of some of these episodes. I really wanted to talk about things like The Sandman or Prey or Miss Marvel or stuff like that. So you can really tell when it's like, okay, he's thought his points out, he knows what he wants to say. Or if I'm like, I don't know, let's just talk about Jurassic Park today, and then we just say how great Jurassic Park is a few times over, and then we punch out. So this one, while I'm excited to talk to you about, I don't have had that much time to prepare for it. It's a unique one to talk about on this channel. I haven't talked about this concept, this franchise in any sense of the word before this, so bear with me. But it was a good time at the movies watching this, so I thought, why not? And I do like the thing we're talking about, so let's see how we go. A bit late to the party as well, but I am reviewing the newest Dragon Ball movie to come out. Dragon Ball Superhero. I don't know what number Dragon Ball movie this is. I think it could be like 23, maybe, or 22. So I'm pretty sure there are over 20 films at this point. It's there's a lot going for it here. It's the second film under the banner Dragon Ball Super, with the revitalization of the Dragon Ball franchise when it started adapting the Super manga. It is the first Dragon Ball movie to incorporate a new style of animation, a 3D sort of styling where the characters pop out of the screen and the animation a lot more. It's the first movie to pull away from the main characters of Goku and Vegeta for quite some time and focus on some neglected side characters. It references and builds on a lot of fan service for the franchise that's been going on since the 80s with the original Dragon Ball story, and then some more stuff from Dragon Ball Z. And it is the first movie that I have actually properly seen Dragon Ball in the theaters where I can understand what's going on. I did see Resurrection F in the cinemas when it came out in 2015, but I stuffed up and I saw the original version, so the subtitled one. It's not the dubbed one. I know I said it in the past, for a lot of live action stuff, I prefer to watch movies with subtitles rather than dubbing, because it pulls me out of the movie having some fake voice dubbing over someone's face and the lips not matching what they're saying and all of that stuff. And that probably would be the case for Dragon Ball, except that I grew up on Dragon Ball's dubbed version. Watching Cheese TV here in Australia, Dragon Ball was on 5 times a week. So I'm very, very familiar with the sounds the characters made through that dubbing and the way the characters are portrayed through that sort of dub. There's a bit of a difference in translation. For instance, if you watch Goku as he was intended with the Japanese voice, his personality and his vibe is very different to the dubbed one in a way that I have trouble getting through. So that ruined my experience for me a little bit because it was very jarring, especially because I didn't realize I was going to go see the subtitled version. So that shocked me when I realized what I was about to sit down for. But super proper dubbed, all of my recognizable voices are in here. So let's talk about it. I love Dragon Ball. If you wonder if there's ever going to be anime on this podcast, on this YouTube, whatever medium you are listening to me to, it's unlikely. Not because I don't think anime is good or anything. I'm pretty sure anime is very solid in terms of its action and storytelling and all of that. And I've heard about a ton of great anime that exists. I've been advised to watch so many of them I've lost count, and I do want to. The problem with animes that I have not already invested in is that they're a big task to start on, because by the time English society gets a hold of these things when they've been dubbed or whatever, they've already ages in front, or they've been going on for so long. Like, for instance, I've been told many times to watch One Piece, but One Piece is 900 plus episodes, and it's just overwhelming. You can't sort of go, all right, I'm ready to watch 900 episodes of this thing. It's a tough endeavor, and it's something that I'm not able to overcome. But I do respect anime, and I appreciate it. And the few that I have set down to watch, like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, great stuff. The anime that I stick with, the anime that I will keep up to date with and watch, is basically stuff that I watched as a kid. The stuff that was on Cheese TV in the mornings before school was normally animes that were directed towards children, or at least the dub was. And they stuck with me as part of my childhood. I have the top 5, my big 5 animes, which are Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Beyblade. Those are my 5 favorites, and I've kept up to date with them through whatever medium that they have done. And to the anime's credit as well, the audience has obviously grown, and the anime is directed at those people, so the vibes and feels of the anime has changed depending on the target audience. Pokemon remains the same as it always has, because Pokemon is this giant behemoth of a thing that's directed at all ages, but primarily for the use of sales of video games and cards and toys and all that stuff for children. So it still feels like a family show. The Digimon, when it came back for its run of films, that was definitely a lot more serious and adult than the goofy Digimon I remembered as a youth. Yu-Gi-Oh was always a bit more older. Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't really had too much of a comeback. And when I say Yu-Gi-Oh, it's really the original Yu-Gi-Oh run. There's other stuff that I haven't really caught up with. And Beyblade, it's that original run of 52 episodes for me, and that's it. Dragon Ball is so much fun. It's my favorite out of all of them, I think. Staking a claim, Dragon Ball is my favorite of those 5, because it's got some solid action, incredible characters, some good comedy, different vibes. The show has always refreshed and revitalized itself. It's always upped the ante. When it started out as just this adventure story about a young kid called Goku who runs around trying to find these Dragon Balls and taking on nefarious, silly villains. Moving on to Z, which is more of a brawl type TV show with a lot of very villainous, superpowered people that would destroy the Earth on multiple occasions. GT, we won't talk about GT because people don't like it. I don't really care one way or the other. And then, obviously, Battle of Gods came out in 2013. That was a movie. It was an anniversary style film for Dragon Ball. People went nuts for it, which went, oh, okay, cool. Let's get back into making more Dragon Ball anime, which is where we got Super, which recently just concluded its run as well and is now focusing on releasing movies in short bursts. For me, Dragon Ball is timeless. The characters are extremely likable, and they've built such a following for them that I'm always excited to see them. And I go back and rewatch Dragon Ball all the time. It's really cool seeing the early days of the show and how the characters evolved and got more powerful. That being said, where Dragon Ball faltered for me was the balance in power shift. I love the side characters. As much as I like Goku, the unstoppable behemoth, and as much as I like his rivalry with Vegeta, the evil prince who decided to be good, and even in retrospect, the closest side characters to them are still miles and miles behind them in terms of their power level, which means when the bad guys show up in Super, when you've got Goku becoming a Super Saiyan god and Vegeta right behind him, fighting alongside the literal god of destruction, your Krillins and your Piccolos, and especially your Yamchas and Tiens and Chiaotzus, if they're either not involved in the story or they stand on the sidelines and go, wow, this is crazy. Which is fun. It's always exciting seeing what level Goku's going to punch through the ceiling and become a super duper duper god. But I love the classic old style Dragon Ball where those side characters were able to contribute and had their own arcs and their own levels that they had to overcome to help save the day. Your Krillins, Gohans, Piccolos. Gohan was said to be more powerful than Goku. And one of the most infamous things Dragon Ball ever did, they really set it up for like Gohan was going to inherit his father's legacy and be more powerful than him. But obviously Goku, face of the show, I think behind the scenes they went, it's got to be Goku, we've got to keep Goku. And as a result, Gohan not only got pushed to the side, but got neglected in terms of both character development and power up. And everybody else, if they're not there to die or to tell a joke, they're just completely out of the picture. So I miss that. I long for a more simpler time, or at least a way to incorporate all these characters, because Dragon Ball has no limit on all the characters they've introduced and their funny personalities and the different relationships they all have and how they interact with one another, which you don't get a lot of in recent years. But then you have this movie, Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which I knew nothing about going into it, except that it focused on the Red Ribbon Army, which is a major callback to one of the earliest arcs in the Dragon Ball story back in 1980s. A super evil military organization with leaders that had colors for names like Commander Red, General Blue, Colonel Silver, that sort of stuff. And their vendetta against Goku because they wanted to find the Dragon Balls. They wanted to find the Dragon Balls so Commander Red could make a wish to be taller because he was a short little guy. So I knew they were in it, but I also knew that they were connected to the Android saga in Dragon Ball Z, where Dr. Gero from the Red Ribbon Army created androids to be evil, and then that got out of hand and introduced Cell, one of the biggest bads in Dragon Ball history. So I knew they would be in it in some form. But I assumed that it would be a Goku and Vegeta brawl fest against whatever villain came out of that. To my surprise, refreshingly, Goku and Vegeta are hardly in this movie. They get a couple of scenes just to establish where they are and what they're doing. But this movie is about it's about Piccolo. Piccolo is the star of this movie, which is wonderful. And B, it's about reversing the wrongs done to Gohan and bringing him back not only in relevance but in power, and then bringing in even more side characters as well who normally would just sit back and watch Goku and Vegeta solve problems. So it's like this movie was made for me and for everybody else who wanted those early days with more wacky villainous characters and allowing the side characters to have more of a step into the protagonist role and level up themselves and be relevant to the story again, which was wonderful. Basically, Dragon Ball Superhero, not Dragon Ball Superhero, Dragon Ball Superhero, in case you were wondering. Basically, the son of Commander Red, called Magenta, is trying to restart the Red Ribbon Army, and he's got a vendetta against Goku and his organization. So not specifically Goku, but everyone involved with Goku. So Bulma and Piccolo and Yamcha and Krillin and everybody else that he sees connected to Goku. He wants to wipe them out. So he hires the son of Dr. Gero, called Dr. Hedo, who is this... Apparently he's 22 years old. He looks like a child, but he is 22 years old. He is continuing in his father's footsteps of trying to build the perfect android. So Magenta and the Red Ribbon Army want Dr. Hedo to build the ultimate android to take down Goku and his friends. And Dr. Hedo agrees. Even though he knows it's a bad organization, he has dreams of creating an android superhero. He wants to be a superhero himself. So he wants to use them so he can make the perfect android. They are using each other in a sense. So Dr. Hedo does indeed create two unstoppable androids called Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, dresses them up to look like superheroes. And also in the background, he's working on another, even more powerful android. And the moment you learn the name of this powerful android, you know that that's a bad idea, and you can see what's going to be the final climactic showdown of the movie. Then it shifts focus after a very long, very rambling introduction, trying to refresh you on who all these characters are and what everybody wants to do. It's very funny. It opens with the line, "Some of you may have lived long enough to remember the Red Ribbon Army," which is great. It's a good tongue-in-cheek way of going, Dragon Ball's been on for a fucking long time. Red Ribbon Army, we haven't uttered those words since the 90s, so if you know, you know, but if you don't, I guess we've got to explain it to you. We'll do it in the silliest way possible. And then shifts focus. It's on Piccolo. Piccolo is training Goku's granddaughter Pan in the ways of fighting, as Piccolo would do. But he's also got a very strong attachment to her. He's like her second grandfather. He's constantly having to step in and look after her because Gohan is focused on working. He's become a dweeb. He doesn't train. At least Piccolo is very disappointed in him. Piccolo discovers what's going on with the Red Ribbon Army, and he desperately tries to get on top of it because he knows things are going to escalate, and he knows that they're not powerful enough to stop them, but no one can get a hold of Goku and Vegeta, so he's got to A, find a way to power himself up, and B, get Gohan back on the level to assist as well. There's some confrontations, there's some fights, evolving into one big gigantic showdown involving Piccolo, Gohan, Goten and Trunks, Krillin, Android 18, in a no hold bars, desperate struggle against this unstoppable android thing that is causing havoc, out of control for everybody involved. That's basically it. What we do on this show, we don't spoil things, so I will not dive into certain points which ruin the experience of seeing this movie. I feel by now, if you love Dragon Ball, you would have already seen this movie, and if you've never seen a single Dragon Ball thing, you're not about to start by going, oh, the superhero movie, I'll go see that. But still, we'll play it safe on both ends here. Overall, it was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it's definitely one of the best Dragon Ball movies, if not the best. It's definitely somewhere in the top 3, I think, for me, easily. For the reasons that I mentioned, I love that Piccolo is the main character. He's wonderfully grumpy. He's got a great comedic timing when it comes to how he reacts to being a family man, but also trying to be the super serious Piccolo we all know. He's got some good ways of, he goes undercover, he works behind the scenes to uncover some truths. You see him dealing with technology like iPhones and holding them wrong. His need to power up, but knowing he doesn't have the time to do it, so he's finding shortcuts, giving Gohan grief. It really is, for the most part, it is the Piccolo hour. Gohan gets the biggest thing at the end of the movie, as you would expect, but for the most part, this is Piccolo's movie, and that's great. I didn't realize I wanted a Piccolo movie. Now I've got it. It's fantastic. The villains are as goofy as ever. The androids, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, I quite like. There's a lot more to them than just we are the androids that are going to destroy you. There's personality and there's motivations. People aren't necessarily telling each other the whole truths, as I mentioned earlier. People are manipulating each other. So it's not really clear if anyone's supposed to be truly evil, apart from the Red Ribbon Army, obviously. But their whole superhero motif is a fun sort of reference to how superheroes have become such a big thing about pop culture with the MCU and all of that. The animation style takes a little bit of getting used to because it is unique in terms of its 3D-ness. So it plays with your mind a bit. You can tell everybody looks 3D, so they're popping out of the screen, but it still feels and looks like a Dragon Ball movie. It feels more lifelike, more vibrant, and it works really well when it comes down to the fight scenes. 3D style animated fights look great. There's no hold bars when it comes on the punching and the explosions and the flying and all of that stuff. It's a visual treat and it looks great, but it will take you a minute because the opening has none of that. The opening is Magenta and Dr. Hedo sitting in a car talking about what each of them want, the past of Dragon Ball, the future of what they're going to do, making a deal, all of that stuff. So when it's just two people sitting in a car talking, the animation doesn't complement that very well because it's not really designed for sitting still and gossiping. Plus, if you are seeing the dub version, which I would recommend for people who have grown up on Dragon Ball here in Australia and America and all of that, because that's just how you're used to it, it's more noticeable with this style of animation with the dub that things don't match in terms of lip movements. There were many moments, especially in that opening scene, where the character's mouth was either wide open or not moving, but they were speaking because the translation, obviously from Japanese to English, it leaves a lot to be desired. There's sometimes more to say than what has been finished being said. And especially with these later Dragon Ball stuff, the translation between the two, I believe they try very hard to get them as accurate as possible. It's not like the early days of Pokemon and Dragon Ball where it was censored for children viewing. Things were summed up a bit easier to match and sync everything up. The infamous donuts in Pokemon that are actually rice balls. You get it. So that's a bit hard to get past as well. You do notice that a lot more. But if you allow yourself to just sort of go, okay, whatever, it's not like I didn't expect this, it does get past that quite quickly. Once we move past that opening introduction scene and we get to Piccolo's part of the story, everything fits in together quite well. It's exciting, it's fun, it's very funny in lots of... It's a good fan service film. It's a good complement to everything that has come before. Not just Dragon Ball Super, but Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. How the show has changed. The types of villains that were in the beginning versus the villains that we have now. And indeed, the power levels. How things were a lot simpler back in the 80s than they are now. But it still manages to up the ante, so it's still, the stakes still feel as high as it did in the last Dragon Ball Super movie. And as I said, it's a redemption story for Gohan from the writers, I assume. It's them going, okay, Gohan was supposed to be this all-powerful superhero, Super Saiyan, whatever. We've neglected him, but inside him, he still has that potential. As does Piccolo. Piccolo gets his own little power boost in here, which is lovingly called a silly name because Piccolo doesn't like to come up with names for power transfers. I won't say what the name is, but it made me laugh out loud. And finally, the music. The soundtrack that complements this movie is absolutely wonderful. It's very exciting. I already have it on my Spotify. I've been listening to it on YouTube while I work. It's got a very cool theme that pops up a lot through the movie. And it really, when the most dramatic stuff is happening in this final slugfest with our super duper android mysterious character, that music swells up with the 3D style animation that's bursting with color and action. It's a great viewing experience. If you have the chance to watch this in a movie theater, I'd recommend it. I've never prioritized it. I've always just sort of waited for this stuff to come out on DVD or on Netflix or whatever, and I can just watch it in the comfort of my own home. I will say, though, that because barely anyone else was in my cinema screening, you know, that's the best type. If you can go to a cinema and there's no one else in there and you can just watch the movie on the big screen, perfect viewing. Only having one other person in there who clearly was also there to be quiet and watch the movie made for a really great viewing experience. So I don't know where you are in the world. It might be hard to track down a cinema that's showing Dragon Ball Superhero, especially an English dub version, or if you're wanting an English subtitle version, it's probably even harder here in Australia. But if you're thinking about it and you're an avid Dragon Ball fan, I think you'd enjoy it. It would be worth it for sure. Dragon Ball Superhero gets an 8 out of 10 from me very easily. It could be a lot higher, except for the moments with the pacing that I mentioned, which you can say about all the Dragon Ball movies. There's always that sense of the translation from Japanese to English means sometimes things take a bit longer. You go to a Dragon Ball movie to see a fight. You don't really go to see people having a chat or recapping the entire Dragon Ball saga up to that point. So for the movie's 100 minutes runtime as well, so that sort of stuff, you cut a lot of that out just to keep the movie going, keep things going, get to the point, get there faster. That's the only thing that stops it from getting total marks, and the thing that stops it from getting a 9 out of 10 is just that the animation style takes a little bit of getting used to, and it's not a seamless transition of style and dubbing to make it that point as well. But 8 out of 10, still solid movie. A great addition to the Dragon Ball Super saga, a great addition to the Dragon Ball saga as a whole, and a wonderful step back or step sideways, whatever way you want to call it, recognizing that though Goku and Vegeta truly are wonderful, they're great characters, we have a wonderful, wonderful set of supporting side characters that have been with these two guys since the beginning, who deserve their times in the spotlight. And we finally got it. Piccolo, Gohan, Krillin even. Krillin's a bit of a joke, but you can't have a Dragon Ball movie without Krillin, and he was wonderful in this too. So 8 out of 10, highly recommend. If you've been thinking about going to see it, definitely check it out. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. I've certainly enjoyed talking about Dragon Ball Superhero. This whole last couple of days I've been going back, watching old fights, listening to old music. I'm right back in the Dragon Ball phase, which is exciting. I expect I'll be here for a week. So hopefully it will subside so I know what I want to talk about next week. Or maybe I'll just talk about Dragon Ball again. I'll see where my mind is. But until then, thank you all for listening. I love and appreciate you as always. It's been a treat talking to you about good old Dragon Ball. And I'll catch you on the next Spliced In Later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.